Uh-oh, the war within Alpha is just around the corner. A more up-to-date roadmap has been announced just the other day, and we have everything coming in 2024 for World of Warcraft, including the 20-year anniversary, but not the least amount of it being the war within Alpha, the release, the pre-patch, 10.6, 10.7, Season 4, everything and more. So let's check out what has been happening in WoW in the last couple of days. We will get to the war within Alpha as well, but first 10.6 is obviously going to come a little bit quicker. How quick? Well, a post on their official website kind of confirms it to be in March. Now, we don't know exactly when in March is. Probably not the first week. I would probably imagine it's around second week or something like that, like the second reset of March. It doesn't really matter. It's most likely going to be fairly early into March because we also have Mythic Fyrakk nerfs, and I'll tell you why that's important later into the video. Now, 10.6 is a mystery. It's a secret. The only really thing that we know about the 10.6 event is that it has a pirate flag. Oh, that's not true. I was wrong. I lied to you. There's one other thing that we know about it, and that is that the devs want it to be a secret. To quote the devs in their post, they said that we created what we think is a unique event inspired by past musings from the community. Now, I don't know what that is because we already have Pirate Day, and this is a pirate flag. Does this have anything to do with all the speculations for what the 11.0 expansion would have been with the pirates and Night Squall and all of that? I don't know, because it's phrased as musings. It's kind of supposed to be a meme-ish thing from, you know, just reading the phrasing of this. We can, of course, speculate, and it can be anything, but it's not going to be available on the PTR to be tested, which is why we haven't had the 10.6 PTR at all, considering that we're probably a month away from it releasing. So it's anybody's guess. They kind of liked how people engaged with Seasons of Discovery in Classic when they discovered all of that stuff, and they said that they kind of want that to be a thing where people just like go, oh, this is kind of neat, I want to see what this is all about. So that is essentially 10.6. And once again, to quote their specific post, why are we doing this? We like the idea of releasing content that has some surprises and isn't that amount revealed in advance. We know that they're essentially fans of not, you know, spoiling content for us, which is why we normally never are able to test the mythic boss of the end raid, the last mythic boss of the raid, ever. Sometimes those usually have secret phases or mechanics that go into it that nobody knows until you're actually there. So we know that they kind of like to have these surprises, and they would probably do more if they could. And most likely this leads me to believe that 10.6 is not a big player power event. I'm thinking something in between, maybe Forbidden Reach, you know, Zkera Vault, and, you know, Dream Surges, something like that. Hopefully it's interesting, hopefully something new. It's probably going to be something new. It's not just going to be, you know, another Time Rift event, but it's probably going to have, I would imagine, moderate player power, because usually player power has to be tested and balanced, or maybe no player power at all. Maybe it's just going to be full-on cosmetics, which, sign me up. Now, if we pay a closer attention to the roadmap, we can see that the war within Alpha is scheduled to be between winter and spring. And if you look at the entire war roadmap, there's quite a few things posted here, and they're kind of deliberately posted off-centered or off-balance or off. They're geometrically triggering my OCD. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And that's probably deliberate for a specific reason. If you really look at the 10.6, it's posted really close to winter, signifying that, you know, it's the closest to spring that we'll get, aka March. But right after it is going to be the war within Alpha. Also kind of halfway through spring, bringing it to probably be around April, we speculated. Why? Well, usually whenever they're releasing content, whether it is for retail or classic, and that's going to be important, and we will talk about it in a second, they will usually like to do this cycle thing where you have one thing, then you have the other thing. So you have 10.6, and then you have the war within Alpha. They're not going to be very close to each other because they don't want to conflict the testing of the war within Alpha. Plus, you know, most likely content creators such as ourselves, please, Blizzard, will get early access to Alpha like we did before to test and, you know, showcase a lot of stuff, most likely create hype or, you know, feedback, but also hype for the new content and the new expansion. So that's why it's probably going to be around April-ish. I speculated mid-April, kind of like a month after 10.6, but we will see exactly when that is. And a much important question is that Season 4 does not start with the release of 10.2.6. It also doesn't start with the release of 10.2.7 by looking at the roadmap, if the roadmap is any indication whatsoever, because it is posted to be before the release of 10.2.7. I really don't know what that means, because pretty much everybody up until this point thought that Season 4 is 10.2.7, like, you know, we had 9.2.7 in Shadowlands, so that, you know, there's a precedent for that. But it's likely going to release in 10.2.6, and 10.2.7 what? Just brings the time-running pandemonium, the Troll and Draenei heritages and all of that good stuff. I mean, that's great, but, you know, either way, if this is a graphical error, which I would doubt, because Season 4 would have been advertised as 10.2.7, then that means that we're gonna get things maybe sooner, because it's fairly early into the spring, a little bit after War Within Alpha, so I would imagine May-ish, or maybe they're not that far apart. Maybe War Within Alpha is going to be even sooner, and Season 4 launches in April, and I think Season 4 launching in April is good. I think we've had a very long time of this current year. We've been about 3 to 4 months into this raid, and we're probably still gonna raid it because Season 4 brings all the raids back. So we will have a Mirdrasil for the remainder of Dragonflight still, even though we'll be raiding in Vault of the Incarnate and Aberrus as well. Plus with, you know, everything that comes with Season 4, a new Mythic Dungeon pool. We don't know what that is, but it is a new season. Plus, we'll have new open world events and all of that good stuff. But 10.2.7 seems to be scheduled after Season 4, which I don't know how to take this. But what's even more important is that just before summer releases, or probably somewhere around June, we will have the War Within beta by looking at the roadmap. And I think it's fairly soon because, and I think it should be like that. Normally, listen, normally beta cycles should be relatively long, especially when it comes to a new expansion, because we've had precedents for BFA and Shadowlands when the beta was fairly short, specifically for BFA, and it turned out to be a shit show. So hopefully now they give us enough time to test all of it, which is probably why the War Within Alpha is going to be very early. And by the time spring ends, we're probably going to be in beta. Usually the alpha, from, if we take past experiences as any kind of precedent, doesn't really last for more than a month or two. At most, I would give it 2 months. So if War Within Alpha starts in around beginning of April, maybe even, I don't think it's sooner, but it's probably beginning of April, then by May we should probably be in beta, because we're gonna have the pre-patch in the summer. I would imagine, you know, pre-patch usually starts about a couple of weeks before the release. Now, the thing is, we know that the War Within will launch in autumn, in fall, essentially. I would imagine September, October, judging by the roadmap. But the War Within pre-patch is scheduled to be really early into the summer. So, you know, I don't know. This is all speculation, of course. This is just a little bit of a stretch, but it's looking like the War Within might be closer than we expected, because by the time 2024 ends, we will already be in 11.0.5 as the first content patch of the War Within, which is kind of just story and quest from what we see so far. New content and system updates. They're probably just going to iterate on the feedback that we've given, I would imagine, maybe in beta. I don't know if they're going to have time to implement the feedback from beta into the live release of the War Within, but we will see. But the most important part is that the 10.05 is going to be the 20-year anniversary for World of Warcraft. It's been a long time and it's been a long road, but here we are. Now, if you compare it with the classic roadmap, you can see, if we judge it, this is why I think this is semi-relevant to our discussion here, you can see all of the events kind of being positioned on the roadmap timeline a little bit deliberately off-center. Like, for instance, the new season of Season of Discovery, which starts on the 8th, which is probably when you're seeing this video, is a little bit early on the spectrum than the 10.2.6 event, and then the hardcore one seems to start after the War Within Alpha, and so on. They're kind of like a little bit off center from the retail versions, because obviously they don't really want to conflict the content, since a bunch of people, I don't want to say most because I don't know, but a lot of people that play retail also play classic. A lot of people that play classic also play retail. So you kind of don't want to release content for both at the same time. That's not very smart, so that's probably what they're going to be doing. So all of this is kind of confirmed by the classic roadmap if you really look at how everything is positioned, and especially since we're going to have Cataclysm Classic released this year as well. And all of this is even doubled down or backed up by the Mythic Fyrakk nerfs. This is not anything new. We've had Mythic Fyrakk nerfs for a couple of weeks now, which is normal after, you know, the race world first ends, especially since now Hall of Fame has been filled up and now Mythic Raid has been open cross-realm. You're normally going to see more and more nerfs, so more and more people can actually get the content clear, which is even a stronger indication that the tier is coming to an end or is getting close to ending. Now, I did suspect that this Amir Drasil tier would last about 5-6 months. We're not there yet, but we're very close. But I won't be surprised if they cut it short about a month, considering that we're going to be having a full season of all the raids, aka Amir Drasil still. Because I don't know about you, but in Shadowlands 927, when the Faded raids were up, I couldn't be paid to raid Sepulchre anymore. I just wanted to do Nathria and Sanctum. I was bored of Sepulchre, was fine, but no more. I did still raid Sepulchre. But what I'm saying is that when all of the raids will be up, probably a lot of people will want to break for Amir Drasil and go back to the old raid. So you don't want to extend the Amir Drasil tier too long, because Amir Drasil will still be content in 10, I want to say season 4, right? Season 4, because normally it's 10 to 7. I want to say 10 to 7, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be 10 to 7. Now, that out of the way, there's a bunch of Mythic Fyrakk nerfs for all of you cutting edge nerds out there. Now, from the patch notes, or from the post essentially, they have reduced the number of flame targets from 4 to 3 on Mythic difficulty, which will most likely make it a lot easier. Fyrakk health reduced by 10%. Now that's a big chunk of health. Burning and Dark Colossus health by 10% has been reduced, I would imagine, just reading from this post. Spirit of the Kaldorei health reduced by 20%. This will make healing them a lot easier, hopefully. Spirits are the ones that are healed, right? They're not the little ass that we need to kill. Darnassian Ancient health reduced by 20%. Well, either way, all of that stuff has been reduced by 20%. So easier to heal, easier to kill. The Heart of Amir Drasil now begins stage 2 with 60% health remaining, and reduce the number of corrupted seeds created from 2 to 1, which makes the entire encounter a lot easier. Clearly more people can get cutting edge. Maybe we can get it too, because we are fairly close. Hopefully by the time the season ends. Now, this is all looking really good. WoW is looking like it's going to be picking up fairly soon with the War Within Alpha. That's just around the corner. And I'm still curious about the 10-2-6 event, just as I am curious who wins between Elemental and Enhancement. And you can check it out here to figure out exactly which is the better spec for Shaman if you want to take a Shaman into the new content that's just around the corner for World of Warcraft. Click it.